Champions League season. So, Champions League is back this week, and like we did last week, I'm gonna run through the games and give my thoughts and opinions on them. And as we do with these, I'll do the predict six, and then the rest of the games I'll talk about. But I will say this week is one of the more fun weeks in the Champions League in terms of fixtures, because there are some great storylines, I must say, and it's super interesting, but we'll get into all of it. Anyways, so we start here with the predict six ones, and first up we have Atletico Madrid versus Eintracht Frankfurt. Now I actually think this is going to be a really good game. I should also caveat everything I say here with I'm filming this before the weekend results, so bear that in mind, and that is relatively actually important when it comes to this game, because Atleti have had a really bad start to this season. A really bad start. A lot of draws, narrowly beat Real Vallecano in their last game, but they actually on the weekend are facing Real Madrid in the Madrid derby, which is why I think that game is important for this, because if they lose that game, then at home as well, the mood around the club is going to be really bad. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Simeone to get a result here. I think that really could hinder them. That being said, if they manage to win in the Madrid derby on the weekend, then they're going to come into this game with a lot of confidence. So I do think that's going to play a part. And Eintracht Frankfurt, well, they've actually been quite impressive for the most part. They did lose their last game, I believe, to Union Berlin, but for the most part they've been really good. And I mean, look at the goals they've been scoring. All of their games have had a bunch of goals. Their attack is looking really good. And they did, of course, win their first Champions League game 5-1 against Galatasaray. So Frankfurt are going to be going to Madrid with a lot of confidence here that they can get something. That being said, Atleti, as much as they haven't been amazing this season, they are a very difficult team to beat. As they showed against Liverpool, that they are capable of making it a tough game for all the teams they play. And generally speaking, at home, they don't really lose too many games, particularly in the Champions League. So I think this is going to be close. I wouldn't be stunned here if Frankfurt did manage to come away with a victory, just given how the two teams are playing. But I am going to go for a draw here, and Frankfurt games have a lot of goals, so I'm going to say there's a lot of goals here, and I'm going to say this ends 2-2. Okay, next up we have Bodo Glimt versus Tottenham. And this is what I was talking about, why there's so many interesting storylines this week in particular, because this is one of many repeats from last season. So these teams actually did play each other in the, I want to say, semi-finals actually, of the Europa League last season, which just adds a whole nother layer to this, because they are now both facing each other in the Champions League, which is pretty cool. But now Tottenham did come out on top in that semi-final. Of course, they beat them home and away, but it was a tough game. But Glimt did make it difficult in both legs for them. And Spurs obviously are a very different team to what they were back then. They've got a completely new manager, and I mean, you would say they are probably a better team, but that Europa League run, they were actually quite good. Now, this being a Bodo Glimt, obviously Bodo Glimt, I think at home are fantastic, given the sort of climates they play in, given the pitch they play on. It's very difficult for opponents to go there. It's very cold. last year and win, but most teams struggle there. And Glimt showed actually in their first game they managed to get a point that they're not going to be no pushovers. So they're going to give Spurs a real game here, like they did when Spurs travelled there. In the end, though, I do think Spurs just about edge this one. I'm going to go 1-0 to Spurs, beating Glimt. I don't think it's going to be particularly easy, but I think they'll have enough quality. Right, next up we have my favourite tie, the tie I've been looking forward to out of all of the fixtures in the Champions League this season. Barcelona versus PSG. This is gonna be great. Wow, I cannot wait for this game. It's the final we all wanted to see last year. Two of the best teams, maybe the top two teams in the world. Certainly the two, I would say, most entertaining teams in the world. Both teams scored goals for fun. This is gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to this one. Now, I hope it doesn't, sometimes these games when you get these sort of high level teams, they sort of just cancel each other out. I hope it's not like that. And I don't think it will, given the way these two teams play. But it's going to be really interesting. It's a really good test for both of these early on in the season to see what their level is like, to see where they're at right now. So yeah, I can't wait. Now, unfortunately, PSG will of course be without the Ballon d'Or winner here, Ousmane Dembélé and Desiree Doué, who are still injured. Now, Lamine Yamal, I think, is going to be back for this, but I'm not sure how fit or how sharp he is going to be. But I believe he should be back, which is going to be a big boost for Barca here. And as I said, both teams have scored goals for fun. Barcelona just smacked up everyone they come up against. Same thing with PSG, although they did lose to Marseille in Ligue 1. This is going to be great. I think there will be goals given the way Barca play. They don't really adapt their style too much. They're still going to play with that high line. But I think it is going to cause PSG problems here. Because I think we saw at the Club World Cup with Chelsea. Chelsea pressed PSG really high and just disrupted their flow. They didn't let them get going. And it really rattled PSG. I think Barca, they play with that high intensity, that high press. They can do a similar thing and rattle PSG, not let PSG get in their flow. Equally, that is what Barca want to do as well. They want to get in their flow, and PSG are very good pressers. So this is why I'm so excited, because these two teams want to sort of do similar things here, which is why it's going to be great. I think PSG can hurt Barca's defence for sure, but equally again, I think Barca's attack is very good, and I'm not entirely sure that PSG defence can hold it out. I do think missing Dembélé and Doué is going to be a big miss though, because as much as I think Barkla's great, and Ramos is good, Barkla, Ramos, Kvara, it's not an incredible front line. And I do think Barca can outscore them. So I am going to go 2-1 to Barcelona here. But I could see it going either way, and I really, really am excited for this one. Next up we have Arsenal versus Olympiacos here. A little bit less of an exciting tie here. Not really too much to talk about. I believe Arsenal should get the job done here. Olympiacos in their first Champions League game, they drew to Pavos, so not great. I don't think I get smacked. I'll just go 2-0 Arsenal. I don't really, there's not really much to say here. I think Arsenal should be getting the job done. This one's an interesting one. Napoli versus Sporting. This close one actually. Napoli, unfortunate in their first game, had 10 men, so this is going to be an important one, but they've been really good in Serie A this season. They started off really well. We have Milan away though, just before this game, which is going to be a big test, but at home, I do expect them to win, but Sporting are a good team, and they started off with a great win. They've started off this season off fairly decent. They did alright in the Champions League last season, so Sporting are a good team with a lot of Champions League experience who can cause Napoli a lot of problems here. But I do think Conte will get a win here in Europe, and he will win 2-1 with Napoli. And the finals predict 6 game here is Dortmund versus Atletico. So I think this should be a pretty good game. Dortmund obviously were involved in that mental game versus Juve in the opening day 4-4. And Athletic Club put up a great fight versus Arsenal, but narrowly lost that one 2-0. I suspect it's going to be a fairly close game here. I'm not sure if Nico Williams is back yet for Athletic Club, but Dortmund at home are really, really good, particularly in the Champions League, and I think they're going to have enough firepower here to get past Bilbao. I'm going to go 2-0 to Dortmund, and we'll play the 2 times booster on the Olympiacos versus Arsenal game. Okay, so let's then look at and preview the other games here. So next up here we have Atalanta versus Club Brugge, and this is another interesting storyline because again it is 2 teams who played each other last season in Europe. These 2 faced each other in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and Club Brugge at the time shocked Atalanta. Really, Atalanta were fighting for the Serie A title at that point, but Brugge beat them home and away. Now things are very different for these teams as Brugge are still the same very good team, but Atalanta have changed manager and lost a lot of key players. But what I will say is a big boost is Ademola Lookman appears to have resolved his issues with Atalanta and is going to be back in the team. That is a big boost and will help them in this game if he does play. But I mean, maybe it's not as simple as this, but I do just think Brugge beat Atalanta last season, and Atalanta are, I think, a lot worse than they were last season. So I think Club Brugge are going to beat them again. Maybe that's too simple, but I think Brugge will win 2-1 in this game. Next up we have Gareth Almaty versus Real Madrid, and again I was saying this week is a fun one. Like, this is just so fun. It's maybe not got a ton of big teams versus big teams this week, but it's got games like this which is just hilarious. Gareth Almaty versus Real Madrid, it's a fascinating one. Real Madrid making like a 11-hour trip here to eastern Kazakhstan to face Gareth Almaty. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny for sure. Now look, on paper obviously Real Madrid should absolutely obliterate them here, but like we do have to factor in that you're travelling halfway across the world here. It's gonna be like a freezing cold climate, hostile atmosphere, all of that stuff. And again, I know Gareth got obliterated by Sporting 4-1, but that was away from home, and I think at home they're gonna be a real problem, sort of like Glimt. That being said though, I'm still gonna back Real Madrid here to get a win, but I don't think it's gonna be a whitewash here. I'm gonna go 2-0 to Real Madrid. I think this is gonna be a tough one for Madrid given the circumstances of the game. I wouldn't be completely shocked here if he lost. I mean, they did lose to This is a really fun one. I'm looking forward to that one. We've already looked at this one. Okay, next up, again, and a game with some really cool storylines here. Chelsea versus Benfica. The return of Jose Mourinho. Mourinho has, of course, been appointed Benfica manager, and he is playing his first Champions League game for quite some time, actually, in this one, and it's, of course, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. What are the odds of that? But yeah, this is actually, you know what, I'll say, like, Mourinho actually has a decent chance here of doing another masterclass here, because obviously Chelsea, we are not in a particularly amazing spot right now. Haven't been amazing so far this season. We are going to be missing Cole Palmer for this game, which is huge, given how important he is for us. So Benfica are actually kind of catching us at a good time here. And, I mean, Mourinho's made a decent start to life at Benfica. We obviously know with Mourinho what he's going to do in these big games, these Champions League European ties. Going to try and frustrate Chelsea, sit back and counter. I think it will work, if I'm being completely honest. We're not amazing against these low blocks. But it is a game we need to be winning here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it's another Mourinho masterclass in the Champions League. I really wouldn't be. That being said, I do think we will have enough to get the job done here. Yeah, I'm gonna say Chelsea win this one 2-0, but I don't think it's gonna be particularly easy for us. And it is nice to see Mourinho back at the bridge, but oh boy, if Mourinho beats us here, oh man, I'm gonna be fuming. Next up we have Galatasaray versus Liverpool. A real interesting one here. Liverpool returning to Istanbul, of course a place where they have great memories. But they're going to a very, very tough place to win. Not many teams go away from home against Galatasaray and win. Very, very hostile atmosphere, very tough place to go away from home. But Galatasaray did get absolutely smoked by Frankfurt here 5-1 in their opening game, so they're going to need a response. It's going to be tough for Galatasaray here, although Victor Osimhen is back, I believe, so that is a bit of a boost for them. Liverpool though, look, yeah, like I said, it's going to be a tough one, but I think they should have enough quality here to get past Galatasaray. I think it's going to be a close one, but I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool here. I think they should have enough, and don't be surprised if another late winner. Right, this one I think is one of the more straightforward ones. Inter at home to Slavia Prague. Yeah, I think Inter should comfortably be winning this game, even if Inter haven't been amazing this season. Then these are the games they typically will win at home against Slavia Prague, who drew to Glimt in their opener. I think they should comfortably win. I'm going to go 3-0 Inter. Marseille vs Ajax, interesting one here. I think Marseille will probably win this one again. Ajax were very poor against Inter, and I actually didn't realise how bad they were. One of my subscribers commented on my last prediction video and sort of told me about how poor the state is out there. You know, with Johnny Heitinga in charge, not particularly great. And I think Marseille, you know, they're actually a pretty decent side. They were kind of unfortunate against Madrid. They beat PSG in Ligue 1 at home. They're a very good team too, so I think they'll be winning this one. I'm going to go 2-0 to Marseille. Okay, another really fun, interesting game here. Paphos FC hosting Bayern Munich. Yeah, another minnow versus a juggernaut here. The side. It's really fun. Again, as I said, a very, very fun week here. Who knows? Are we gonna get a shock here? I would be absolutely stunned, because one thing with Bayern Munich, I mean, you can question them maybe in big games, but they always just absolutely batter these sorts of teams. They always do it. I think Pavels could be in for a bit of a long day here. I do worry a bit for them. Bayern, they've been putting to sword almost all the teams in the Bundesliga, scoring goal after goal. Harry Kane has been on fire, and it's not like Karat, where they're having to travel like 10 hours. It's in Europe at least, this one. And I think their quality is just going to shine through it. As I said, Bayern Munich, they love to just bully these small teams. I think it's going to be like 5-0 Bayern Munich here, and a comfortable win. Karabakh vs Copenhagen. I mean, I don't really have too much to comment on this one. Karabakh did get a really nice win against Benfica, so you know what, at home I think they can win this game 2-1, and I'll tell you what, 2 wins from 2 from Karabakh, that would be pretty impressive. What a way to start that would be. Union Saint-Gilloise versus Newcastle, a interesting tie here. This is Union Saint-Gilloise's first home game in the Champions League. They obviously won their first game up against PSV last week, but this is an interesting one, hosting Newcastle. I think this could be a really close one. I think this is not going to be easy for Newcastle here. Union Saint-Gilloise showed against PSV that they're a pretty good side, and being their first home game in the Champions League ever, they're going to be really up for this. For a pretty decent side. Newcastle are going to come off the back of a grueling game against Arsenal, most likely. I think it's going to be close, and you know what, I think it's going to be a draw. I think Newcastle have been a little bit toothless, a little bit too conservative in some of their games this season. I'm not sure they have enough to get past Union Saint-Gilloise, who I think are going to cause some real problems. I'm going to go 1-1 here. And then Leverkusen versus PSV. 2 teams who actually really do need a win here. PSV started off horribly versus Union Saint-Gilloise, and Leverkusen drew to Copenhagen, and of course have changed manager, so 2 teams need a win here. By Leverkusen being at home, I would slightly favour them here. Malik Tillman facing his old club, another little thing there, but I'm going to take Leverkusen here. I'm going to go 2-1 Leverkusen. Monaco versus Manchester City, an interesting one here, interesting tie. I'm actually quite looking forward to this one. I actually think this is going to be a really, really good game. Monaco started off very badly though in the Champions League. They got smacked by Club Brugge in their opening game, and City did beat Napoli. But I mean, I didn't really watch that Brugge game, but I actually think that's not a true reflection of how good Monaco are. Monaco, at least last season, were quite good. And are a really solid team, and they caused Arsenal, Barcelona, and some other teams some real problems in the league phase last season in the Champions League. So I don't think they're going to be a pushover here for Man City, and they're going to cause some real problems, particularly at home. That being said, I do think City will get the job done, but it's going to be really close here. I'm going to go 2-1 City. I think Monaco are going to, like I said, cause City a lot of problems in this game, but City will have enough to get the job done. And finally, Villarreal versus Juventus. So Villarreal lost their opener to Spurs 1-0, and Juve were part of that mental game versus Borussia Dortmund. Now, I think this is going to be an even game. I think Villarreal at home, they're pretty good at home, going to be certainly up for this game. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say scored a lot of goals recently, but that's sort of dialed down in the last couple games in Serie A. I think Villarreal are going to cause them quite a few problems, particularly at home. They were not too bad against Spurs, actually. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to go for a draw, 1-1. But there we go. Those were my thoughts and predictions for the Champions League games. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy this video,